what matters most to you in West Michigan. Join the conversation now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving, folks. We are just hours away from turkey. The countdown is on. Sun is shining. Glorious day. High at top. Downtown Grand Rapids in West Michigan, coming to you live. It's West Michigan Live. I'm Justin Barkley. Lots to cover today, including some spectacular revelations, some real bombshells, shattering media narratives that have been pounded over the last several days. You'll get the latest on that. Some stories you probably haven't even heard yet, and updates that may be new.
News, weather, and traffic. And the biggest stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now today's Big Three.
A Rona report on the way. Fauci gave his last press conference yesterday. Oh, some tells me we're just not done with him yet. I'd like to be. I mean, I've been done. I've been over it. Him. For a while now, but just something tells me we're not quite done with Mr. Booster. The high priest. We'll get into all of that coming up. Hang on, folks. At least 6 people killed in a tragic incident in Virginia at a Walmart last night. The attacker is now dead. Opened fire late last night as shoppers made last-minute Thanksgiving shopping plans. At least 5 others injured as well. Police now confirm the attacker was a store employee. Just in Colorado, another horrific attack that occurred, at that LGBTQ Club Q or whatever they called it over the weekend. You've been hearing a lot about this, the motives of the attacker. One thing you haven't heard just yet is that this suspect, according to their attorney, identifies as non-binary. When CNN heard that news, you won't believe the wind that was taken out of their sails. Oh yeah, no, it's priceless stuff. I'll play that for you. Come on.
Number 2.
These folks always trying to capitalize on a tragedy. We pray for all of those affected by both those events. You could be paying more for water next year. Water and sewer rates here, at least in Grand Rapids in 2023, based on recommendations for an annual review, are going up, they say. Yes, as much as 6.27% for water, 1.27% for... But don't worry, they said. The city acknowledges both system increases are less than the current rate of inflation. So, that should make you feel better. You're paying more for everything, including your water and your waste. A West Michigan man accused of human trafficking. Well, I thought this stuff didn't happen. Well, it does. And apparently right here in West Michigan, a man from Comstock Park accused of trafficking a 16-year-old girl from Grand Rapids. The Kent County Sheriff's Office is jumping into action, investigating. They started it all when apparently they had tips from somebody back in October that turned them on to all this. The Sheriff's Office says 38-year-old Comstock Park man had befriended this 16-year-old girl in a public area. From there, officials say she was trafficked through online posting. Investigators say they learned the teen was in the Upper Peninsula, possibly with the man. The Sheriff's Office says the information broadcast to Northern Michigan authorities. That's when a crack staff member at the Mackinac Bridge Authority spotted the man driving and hiding a person under a blanket in the back seat. The Sheriff's Office says the Mackinac Bridge Authority contacted law enforcement, stopping that vehicle before it crossed the Mackinac Bridge. The man being charged with human trafficking, sexually abusive activity, possession of child abusive material, and using a computer to commit a crime. So glad that things have resulted in, I think, at least this young girl being home at the very least. As a father of 2 daughters, this is unthinkable. And yet it is happening. Well, we're told constantly this is not something that you have to worry about. This is not something that you need to know about. And of course, sexual exploitation or abuse of kids. No, that's just conspiracy theory. That's just wacko talk. No need for any of that. I'm just floored, by the way. I just told you earlier, and I don't want this to I just don't want this to just kind of like slide by people. But CNN absolutely deflated, apparently, when they had the conversation and they learned the news that, yes, one of the attacker in Colorado identifies as non-binary. At least that's according to the attorney. They seem to question whether or not any of that's legitimate and whether it's a play, some sort of legal play by the attorney. This is all just crap. This is after days of questioning the motive of the person who attacked that club. This comes days of this has gone by, and they said this person is probably listening to Republicans talk about how children ought to be defended and ought not to be sexual objects, and well, we ought to be careful. There are sick and sadistic things happening to our kids. People have agendas. We ought to do everything we can to protect them. They said it was your fault. Boy, they hate the truth, don't they? They hate the truth so bad. You almost have to see the scowl on her face when she reports this on CNN.
So attorneys for the accused shooter, Anderson Lee Aldrich, say in new court filings tonight that the suspect now identifies as non-binary. In a footnote to a motion asserting legal privileges, the public defenders say, quote, Anderson Aldrich is non-binary. They use they-them pronouns, and for the purposes of all formal filings will be addressed as Mix Aldrich. So in other words, not Mr. or Ms. Joining me now, CNN political commentator Errol Lewis, also back with me, Al Frank and Joe Walsh. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's not anything that we had heard from his background. You know, people have been looking into his background.
She's so upset. So sorry that the narrative is crumbling. In fact, they just don't want to confront this. Here's how far they go.
And I don't know if anybody here, are you guys lawyers? I mean, I don't know if I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's what he's now saying.
It sounds like they're trying to prepare a defense against a hate crime charge. That's the least of his problems, legally speaking, but it looks like they're trying to build some kind of sympathy or at least confusion on the question of whether or not this was purely motivated by hate.
Or maybe it's just a case that's what. Do you think it's really the fact that there's some sort of crack attorney there out of Colorado who's just come up with this diabolical plan to say, oh, you know, what a defense on a hate crime charge. Oh, you're facing murder charges. A defense on a hate crime charge. So just, to save that issue, what we'll do is or to build sympathy, as the man just said. What we'll do is we'll just say that this individual was non-binary. That was the case.
I mean, that is what it sounds like.
The only person this hurts or people this hurts is CNN and the narrative.
Wait to see.
NBC, same deal. By the way, they were out there for the past couple of days doing the same thing, pushing this crazy narrative. That's just not real. It's not realistic. Going as far as to say, and some of these folks calling for people like Tucker Carlson to be sued, Lauren Boebert. If these people listen to Lauren Boebert or Tucker Carlson, we ought to know about it, and they ought to be held accountable because, they're spreading this dangerous information. Well, you're talking about people that are taking their kids to drag queen brunches or whatnot. I mean, I don't care what you do as an adult. That's one thing, but you start to involve children, and we got an issue, and I think most people understand that. Sexualizing kids. I was just going to say, hopefully most people still understand that. It is 2022, but sexualizing kids is absolutely disgusting. Should never be done, and those children should be defended.
You have sort of educated us over the years about the extremism movement and the nature of it, how it easily transfers from targeting from sort of being inspired and rallied and most emotional about an anti-Semitic week, and then moving quickly and seamlessly to, anti-trans station that riles the group up, or Children's Hospital or even targeted, which is a horrific and heinous thought for me. I cannot get my brain around that. But just talk about this sort of network of extremist groups and their targets and causes.
Yeah, this toxic mix of hatred plus clinging to assault weapons is the laziest way. Targeting your opponent.
It's hatred if you say that kids shouldn't be sexually exploited. But again, this is a story that you won't hear, but now you've got it. You've got the facts so that when you sit down at turkey dinner tomorrow, you can say, hey, well, did you hear that guy? Or did you hear that individual identifies as non-binary? So apparently the narrative has crumbled, and it was some sort of crazy, wacky Trump supporter who did this. I don't know, but the point is this. The narratives and the constant pushing for division just so they can pad their pockets, and of course, their political agendas push them forward it's destroying this country. Your neighbors, your friends, and your family constantly be pulled apart because these people want to pad their pockets again. That's the disgusting part. Those are the real vultures. Those are the real criminals. And I don't know when we're going to see an end in sight, but folks, be alert. We'll talk more about this, plus a story that developed yesterday we talked a little bit about. Representative Steve Carra joins us for the solution that he was pushing to try and get an investigation into elections in 2022 and some issues that were seen throughout the 2022 election. Well, here, at least in Michigan. We know there's problems in Arizona. Carl joins us next. Hang on.
Reaching past the headlines. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Have you been showering?
All right, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Got the echo fixed. Stand by. Just got to make sure our guest is ready. Okay. Oh, that feels good. We just had so much going on these days. Mercury, if that individual identifies as they, them, it's not individual, they, them is plural. Well, listen. I don't know exactly how that all plays out. But yes, I would imagine you're in the traditional sense of grammar, and that would tend to be correct there, I would believe. All right, hey, let me tell you something, because this is big. I'm going to show you something really quickly. Now, stay close, because over the next few days, we're going to be seeing major deals. There are Black Friday specials over at justinbarkley.com. But let me show you this. We have some new items. These are secret new items. Things that people asked for. Now, they're not on sale yet, but you go ahead, feel free to buy them. Maybe sales popping. You never know how soon. But look at this. I just show you new tinfoil hats, different alternatives. Holy smokes. Tumblers for your coffee and water. Oh, boy, folks. By the way, every T-shirt and every hoodie in here has different colors. They're not just all black. So take a look. Click on those when you do go see them. Hang on. We got to jump back on the air, folks. Welcome back in News Radio 1300 and 106.9 FM. You can join the program anytime at 616-774-2424. Yes. Hit the microphone button on the iHeartRadio app to get in on the talkback feature from MKD Funeral Homes. Joining us right now is Representative Steve Carra. We just read the news yesterday and talked a little bit about this on the after show about a back and forth in letters. Representative Carra asking for an investigation to happen there of course, in the legislature here in Michigan, and Lansing asking to take a look at what had taken place in the 2022 election. Concerned citizens have some, well, they have some concerns. They have some questions about some of the things that took place. Carra asking, hey, why don't we do the reasonable thing, look underneath the hood of this car and make sure that everything was on the up and up. If there were issues, let's make sure that we know what they are so we can fix them. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be bipartisan. A scathing rebuke coming back from the Speaker of the House, Jason Wentworth. Carra joins us now. Appreciate you being here with us, Representative. Thank you.
Yeah, good to be here, Justin.
So, I read a bit of the back and forth. I read the Detroit News article. I read your letter, and then I read some of the things that Speaker Wentworth had to say back to you. Again, to me, the reasonable situation seems that we ought to have more accountability and more in our elections. Why wouldn't we do that? It just seems like that should be a non-partisan, a bipartisan issue, and yet you're getting pushback from people in your own party.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw a $1 billion bill package come up, Justin, with less than 24 hours notice. We were told about it in the last hour the evening before. We didn't even get the bill until after session began the next day, and we voted on it a couple hours later on a $1 billion corporate welfare, picking winners and losers bill. Now, how much is it going to cost for us to do a proper investigation, just a few $1 million, to get to the bottom of what happened in 2022, to just verify what worked right, what didn't work right from the election? The fact that we can't move quickly on this, I think, is concerning.
What did you want to have done? Let's just be clear here. What were you asking for the folks to do in the legislature?
We should do subpoena powers. That's what Maricopa County did 2 years ago with the 2020 election. And subpoena powers, for those of the viewers who don't know what that means, is we have a Republican majority, so we can do it with a simple majority in the House. We have this capability. If no Democrat wants to sign on, if they don't want to put their name to attaching to make sure we have secure and honest elections, that's fine. All we need is a resolution from a majority of the legislature in the House, and we can grant subpoena powers to one of our committees to do a proper investigation to look into the 2022 election.
Why are those subpoena powers important? There's been talk about preserving evidence, documentation, and things like that. Michigan Secretary of State seems to want to get rid of those things as soon as possible.
Right, and that's why I was calling for us to go back in yesterday on the 22nd before the certification of the election, because Secretary of State Benson is telling the clerks to start destroying the records upon certification.
Nothing to see here.
And that's why we should act swiftly.
And if you have a problem, with that, Steve, you're an extremist, you're radical, you're just some sort of tinfoil hat wearing nut job, apparently. If you have a problem with the fact that she's breaking the law and isn't preserving records like she's been mandated to do, like the law says she should do, if you have a problem with any of this, you're the issue, is what I'm hearing.
And yeah, she's supposed to preserve those records for 22 months after the election. She wants to destroy them upon certification here in the next month. That's ridiculous.
Now, no matter how you feel about this election, who won, who lost, etc., who you voted for, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that the process be untainted throughout it all. Representative Steve Carra, Michigan State Representative, on the phone with us right now. He issued that letter asking the Speaker of the House to move forward with this process, and he refused. In fact, he wrote you back sort of a scathing rebuke in his letter, and almost went as far as to threaten you. It appeared in some places.
I would say so. Yeah, threatening that if the people wanted to subpoena me, should they be able to do that as well? And I don't know. I think that the decorum that we've seen in the legislature with people who want us to moderate more, people who want us to appeal to the opinions is their argument. But what have we seen? We saw the radical left has gone so extreme. We saw that we've been very moderate. We've been very passive. We've been very timid. We've given Gretchen Whitmer almost everything that she wants on the big ticket items, big bloated budget, corporate welfare stuff, and then what is it getting us? It's getting us bad results. It's getting us less enthusiasm than we should have. We need to be more like Ron DeSantis in Florida. Stand up for what we believe in and win the hearts and minds of the people.
Rep Cara, I got to ask you one more thing, and we got to wrap up here because the news bottom of the hour here. But let me ask you I don't think there's anything not moderate about asking for accountability and transparency. I think that's pretty moderate. I don't think there's anything extreme about that. But let me ask you, what can be done now at this point? We're talking to Pat Colbeck coming up at 9:35. What can be done now at this point, and what do you suggest folks listening do?
I still think we should push for subpoena powers. I don't think it's too late. It would have been better to do it before certification, but I think we should still continue to push for that and get to the bottom of what works right and what doesn't work right. This idea that we passed dozens of election integrity bills for the last 2 years but didn't do a proper and thorough investigation is an insult to how engineers in my community operate. You first identify the size and scope of the problem, and then you go in there and you fix it. You don't try to fix something without fully understanding what is and what isn't working in the process. So let's get to the bottom of what's going on in our elections. We know they're ripe for fraud. The absentee ballot applications being sent out unsolicited in 2020. Anybody can vote absentee now for any reason. The signature verification process is relaxed. It's a very ripe for fraud system with the absentee ballots. And we pay a huge markup for these stupid machines that have way too many capabilities and don't just do their basic job of marking, finding where the mark is, and then tabulating it properly and then putting it in a secure box. That shouldn't cost over $5,000 per machine to do that.
Michigan Rep Steve Cara, you can find out more online. Where can folks follow you?
Facebook, just look up Steve Cara. I guess I'm in the news a lot apparently lately if you want to look up any articles or anything. But the important thing is look into subpoena powers, look into what you can do to help call for this. We've got 1 month left to do good things, whether it's this or other things in the legislature, to expose the Democrats for what they've done to our country.
We'll continue the conversation. Thank you, Representative Steve Cara of Michigan House Republicans. We continue this conversation. Pat Colbeck joins us. What were those issues in the 2022 election? What were the questions that people deserve answers to? We'll dig into that. What he's asking folks to do coming up next, right here, West Michigan Live. Listen, man, we need you in the fight. You obviously understand what we're up against. We need you to be the best husband, the best father, the best in your call on a daily basis, no matter what it is that you are doing or where you're showing up. We need you to be your best the way you were created to be. And you can't do that if you got low energy and motivation, weight gain, muscle loss, fatigue. Maybe you're feeling tired and irritable all the time. Could be your low testosterone levels, but there's good news because there's an easy, simple fix to that. The folks at Mentality want to help. A local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. You know, we need you, in fact, in the fight. And we need you to be at your very best. FDA-approved testosterone treatments, board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. Check out Mentality today. lowtusa.com. That's low, the letter TUSA.com. Go to lowtusa.com. and take your life back. Okay. Let me get to Pat Colbeck, who is hanging out with us right now. He's in the green room, the virtual green room. Morning, Pat. How are you?
Top of the morning to you.
How are you, my friend? That's good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Well, you sound
friendlies,
good.
That is.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. You sound good. You look good. We're going to get the state of all things coming up here in a little bit. Tammy says, don't lose hope, folks. That's right. Never give up. Never give in. Never surrender. Don't lose hope. We continue the fight. And yes, not all is lost. We know at the end of the day, he's still on the throne. So That's where my joy comes from. But there are still things that we should and can be doing in the meantime. So, Patrick, we're going to dig into all of it. The issues, I mean, have you break some of these biggest ones down from the 2022 election. Meanwhile, we still have major problems in Arizona. I know maybe you can talk a little bit about what's happening there. But the attorney general there looking into things. I don't understand why we can't look into things here in Michigan, but the attorney general there has said, yeah, no, we've seen enough to know there's some real problems. In fact, they've said this thing can't be certified in Arizona. Why wouldn't we take a look at what really went down when so much was on the line in 2022 here in Michigan? Why wouldn't we want to do that? Just seems kind of odd to me. Very strange. Hang on, Pat. Be right back with you, folks. I want to show you again what I was just showing you. I saw some people celebrating. I'm going to walk you through it. JustinBarclay.com. Inside the store, JustinBarclay.com/store, you can get all of the updates on the new stuff. I think the books have wrapped up, but you still may be able to get free shipping on the books if we're not completely sold out on those. Try that out. New tinfoil hats. Okay, so somebody the other day mentioned this. I just sent out, by the way, if you're not on my text messages, you should get on. I'll send you the number. I'll put it out here in the chat here in a second. But I just sent a message out to folks saying, what would you like to see more of in the store? And they said, different tinfoil hats. Somebody said beanies. And I said, oh, good idea. How would you like a selection of tinfoil hat beanies? So you don't have to wear the trucker hat now, the original, and you've got different colors. Look at that, folks. Different colors and tinfoil hat beanies. Somebody already bought one last night. In fact, I don't even know. I didn't even have it up like public on the site. I don't know how they did it, but they went in and got one last night. Somebody got one like right out of the blue. It's wild. I don't know how fast that happened, but look at this. Tumblers for your coffee or your water. Any beverage keeps your cold beverage cold, keeps your hot beverages hot. There's a Justin tumbler. There's more. We've got different ones as well. You'll find those under gear. And tees for the ladies. They asked about them, V-necks and more lady-fitting tees. We've got those. Apparently, some in the audience still believe that men and women are different. So we've got those in all different colors. I just put a blue one up as a front so you could see that. This is more of I think like a gray, a heather gray. There's a black. There's all kinds of different colors. That's the I Need New Conspiracy Theory tee. Here's the other tinfoil hat, the ball cap. People wanted the ball cap. Now, there's one that's hiding in here, and I may make this the front, but I just really like the white one kind of popped. But check this out. Look at the camo tinfoil hat. Look at the camo tinfoil hat, folks. Do you like that? Lots of new stuff, and we're going to be adding more, I think, even the next couple of days, just to give you extras to look at. Okay, so you have still some of the classics, the conspiracy, I Need New Conspiracy Theories, all of mine have come true tea. That's up there. The One Nation Under God hoodies and T-shirts are up there as well. And more gear. Here's the gear like I was talking about. See, you can check out the hats. You can break it down to the categories of the hats. Here's the gear. There's Mama Bear stainless steel tumblers for your hot beverages and your cold beverages. There's One Nation Under God. All the mugs that are up here, the Justin mug, faith, family, freedom. And then if you break it down, oh yeah, the Facebook jail mug, God wins, all of those good ones. If you break it down and you go through like men and women, you'll find there are different things for different folks. The One Nation Under God tees. I've even got for women, check this out, the fleece vest with the Justin logo. I don't know why you would want that, but some people have asked for it. We've also got new polos. So if you just want to wear a cool Justin polo, those are out there as well. So lots of different things inside the store. Big sale prices all coming. But if you want to go grab something right away, you can go check those out now. And if you are a supporter in our behind the scenes, really cool group we have on Locals, everybody gets 25% off. The folks that have become supporters in there. So anytime you want to make sure you become a supporter, right now we're doing a Black Friday deal. If you use the coupon code YEAR, 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 you get 3 months free. So you get the first month free, and then you'll get 2 months off when it comes to the full price. So 3 months free with coupon code YEAR on an annual deal at justinbarclay.com/locals. So, all right, back in just a moment. Back on the air, folks. Stand by. We're going live.
That's 616-774-2424. West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on News Radio 1300.
Oh, I can't. Some of these folks in the chat crack me up. If you're watching the behind the scenes live stream, you get to see all the video, the things that we're talking about and showing behind the scenes. You can see it Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, YouTube, all the usual suspects, as well as justinbarclay.com. And Rayanne just cracked me up. She said, now that Facebook is called Meta, the parent company, instead of calling it Facebook jail, you could just call it Metapause. That's a good one. That is a good one. Thanks to folks hanging out in the chat today. We're going to welcome in Patrick Colbeck, former Michigan State Senator, detailing some of the issues in the 2022 election folks have brought up, concerned citizens. We just talked with Rep. Steve Carra just a moment ago. Pat Colbeck, appreciate you being here with us today. How are you?
Well, I've had better decades, but but I love that Facebook jail is now Metapause. That is really that is clever.
That was a good one. I tell you, that's the kind of stuff you miss out on if you're not in the chat.
I needed that. Whoever came up with that, I totally needed that today. So thank you.
Matt, you've been wading through in a sea of all this data and experiences people had. I want to go through some of those from the 2022 election, the midterms here. You just heard Rep. Steve Carra, who said, I think, a very reasonable and wise and prudent response to some of these concerns is, we ought to take a closer look under the hood. Let's have an investigation. Let's get subpoena power. Let's go find out what was behind some of these issues. And if there's nothing to see there, there's nothing to see there. But at the end of the day, we'll know what happened so that we can fix some of these issues down the road if we can. But if they don't do this now, I don't think the chances that they're likely that they'll ever do it again, because Democrats will be in power. And from the governor all the way down to the legislators in Lansing, they control both the House and the Senate. I don't know what this fate of Michigan looks like. So why wouldn't Speaker Jason Wentworth take a very moderate and a very reasonable approach and say, all right, let's take a look. What are the issues? Let's see what really happened behind these problems. I mean, and let's do it for real this time. In 2020, it was kind of it felt like anyway, it was kind of like, we're just going to sort of give these people lip service sort of a thing. And they never really did, I think, the digging that they should have done. One of the reasons they want subpoena power is to preserve records. So let's talk about that. Why is it important to preserve the records, Pat?
Well, because we want to do a real investigation and audit. Also, it's the law. And, we talk about all the different incidents we've seen, not only in 2020, but in 2022. And by the way, I sent a complete data dump of the latest information that I have regarding anomalies in the 2022 election, and I sent it to every single elected official in Lansing. So Democrat, Republican, every single representative and every single state senator has received a summary of my information along with contact information for them to follow up and dig into this on their own if they're interested. So they can't say that they didn't know about it. But I think the best course of action or best rationale for the need to investigate and the need to preserve some of these data records is the fact that we have the chief election official in the state, Jocelyn Benson, having been found guilty of violating the law in at least 5 separate court rulings. And if the chief election official in our state is guilty of violating the law, that makes these elections that she is presiding over lawless elections. And oh, by the way, she was on the ballot for this last election. I think the fact that she's executing our elections outside of the bounds of the law should justify on its own the need for an investigation of what happened in the election. And when you put on top of that the fact that the Electionize website that we put up to capture election incidents across the state has identified over 220 incidents of suspected fraud. When you couple in the True the Vote data dump that I got from Catherine Engelbrecht and her team showing over 100 incidents that need to be investigated, there is plenty to investigate right now, and we can't trust Attorney General Dana Nessel, who's very selective on what law she enforces. We can't trust Jocelyn Benson. We can't trust Gretchen Whitmer, who's been coloring outside the lines of her authority for years. This is a time for the legislature to stand up, and we still have a short window before the end of this legislative session.
All right, Pat. So you just mentioned over 200 incidents that have folks in Michigan concerned about the integrity, the security of the elections. Can you break down, give me a few of those, and maybe the most concerning of them? In Arizona, for example, we saw that in the morning, day of voting, they had major issues from the election, the vote tabulator machines. The ballots went inside these things and rejected, spit out. People were told to go vote in other places. This didn't work. That didn't work. These people in Arizona, very concerned because they're not even sure if their vote counted. We had a very similar issue here in West Michigan. One of the precincts turned people away because they ran out of ballots. These are problems. They're happening in Michigan too. I know maybe some of them are different, but can you walk through maybe some of the most egregious of things that you've noticed?
All right. Well, first of all, I want to kind of point out kind of a pattern of Jocelyn Benson, because he kind of learned from the past. And in the past, Jocelyn Benson has ordered the destruction of tabulator flash drives, which contain all the ballot images. They contain the allocation of votes specific at that tabulator. They contain the programming that shows how a certain image gets converted into a series of votes from a ballot. Very important data. And she's ordered the destruction of poll book data as well. Against that backdrop, the anomalies that we're seeing are, number one, that we've got issues with poll books. In the city of Detroit, I think about 90% of some of the poll books were experiencing errors akin to saying you've already voted, so you don't get a ballot. When that happens, you really want to dig into what's going on in that poll book, right? So why would she go off and call for the elimination of poll book data? In addition to that, what we're seeing across the board, and not just in Michigan, but across the country, are very strange vote anomalies where top of the ticket Republicans are getting thousands less votes than the bottom of the ticket Republicans. So Commissioner,
I wondered about that, Pat, because we had seen major a movement with school board races.
Yeah.
And yet didn't see that convert into top of the ticket and even congressional races. That seems odd to me.
Yeah, so all the same people that are voting for good pro-parental rights school board candidates have found it in their heart not to vote for good pro-parental right Tudor Dixon candidate for governor.
Now,
that doesn't make any sense.
This could be explained away that there was ticket splitters and things like that. I understand. We could find out that there's a reason for this, but we don't know legitimately unless we take a look, do we?
Right, and that's why these tabulator flash drives are important. We want to see if there's any embedded programming in there that would flip top of the ticket votes, for example. And I just want to remind everybody, I know there's the vote margins in this last election were pretty significant. I mean, the order of 500,000 votes. But you know what? If you just flip 50 votes per precinct, like maybe through a systemic widespread programming error, that would explain the fact that, or that would turn Michigan red, believe it or not. Just 50 votes. That's all we're talking about. So, guys, this isn't insurmountable, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And here's something that I brought up yesterday at the Wayne County Board of Canvassers meeting. which was very frustrating because we drove out to Detroit only to find out that they only let in 5 people to sit in on the canvasser meeting, and they voted on certifying the election results before they ever heard from public comment. So that was a lot of fun. But what I was able to do once I raced back home to get on the Zoom call so that I can inject my public comment was that I wanted to highlight something that I don't think a lot of people in the state of Michigan are aware of. And this is this fundamental, a lot of people, I think we've talked about it on your show before. I've asked people to collect the tabulator tapes from all across the state. So on election night, we wanted to make sure that people got the timestamp precinct tapes that showed what the tabulated results were for that precinct on election night, so that if they decide to monkey with the results afterwards, well, we had one benchmark timestamp that said, guys, this is what the results were on election night. Well, through that exercise, I started doing some analyses, and I started digging into the AV Counting Board tabulators in particular, because we were finding it very difficult to get that data in particular on election night. And there's a good reason for it being difficult. That doesn't mean that the good reason is a good from an election perspective, but it actually makes sense from a practical perspective. The AV counting boards, particularly those that use Dominion ImageCast Central tabulators, they don't have the ability to print out a zero tape or a closing tape for the election. They require that information gets sent up to another computer called the Election Management System server. That Election Management System server has never been tested for accuracy. Yet when canvassers are certifying the election results, they are using data from that Election Management System server. And that server's never been tested for accuracy. We know there's significant vulnerabilities in that. That's where they have the non-certified software installed, like SQL reporting services, which is what they use to generate the reports that the canvassers get. For me, this is concerning. And it gets in a little bit of a techie area here, but the bottom line is that you cannot get a precinct-specific set of election results from the tabulators actually performing the tabulation on election night for these AV counting boards. They depend on another computer, which means that there's a data transfer that happens between these tabulators and this election management system server. And in that data transfer, you lose the audit trail. And these canvassers, their job is to make sure that there's an audit trail in place between the precinct results that they're stating and the ones that are actually shown in the records. And right now we're seeing that they're basing their canvassing activities and their decisions around certification on reports of precinct level election results from computers that were never tested for accuracy. That should be concerning to everybody.
Folks, a lot of people feeling hopeless, helpless, and deflated here right now. Pat, hang on. We got to take a quick break. I want you to give us some solutions and what can folks do. When we come back, we'll get into all of that. It's West Michigan Live. Hang on. We'll have a jam-packed after show today, too, as well, folks. This is the things are just heating up pre-Thanksgiving. We're getting that oven going. And don't forget, a programming note in for Glenn Beck all 3 hours on the national show, 9 to noon Friday on Black Friday. You're stuck with me. Want to thank one of our big supporters, the latest, in fact, Mentality. The folks at Mentality want to help you, man. You're suffering, maybe feeling a little anxiety and depression, some impatience, your low energy motivation, weight gain, muscle loss, all of those things could be because of your testosterone levels. But you got to get checked first. And if they find out that that's the case, there's simple solutions, easy fixes. There's something custom for each individual. The folks at Mentality want to help. Men, you don't understand how important you are in the fight. I know society wants to, well, they tend to want to make you feel like you don't matter. Well, you do. We need you to be the best fathers, the best husbands. And to show up in the workplace or wherever your calling is, the best of your ability, the way you're created to. And the only way to do that is make sure that you are on point, healthy, happy, and ready to join the fight. Check out Mentality today. They want to help you out. LowTUSA.com. Go to low, the letter TUSA.com. That's lowTUSA.com and find out how they can help you take your life back. All right. Give me just a moment here. Pat, if you can, maybe we'll answer some questions. Some people do have a couple of questions here and there. We'll get to some of those and we'll jump back on the air here.
Yeah, I'm sorry to go so techie on that. I'm still trying to go off and figure out a good way of explaining this issue. But the bottom line is these tabulators aren't showing what the actual election results were at the precinct level. They show it as an aggregate across all the precincts that they're tabulating, and it makes it, there's zero audit trail for any external observer to go off and look at that. I mean, I'm sure the data is in the machine somewhere, but we can't see it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to see.
And why is this important? I mean, just to put an anchor on this, the 7,060 vote flip that occurred in Antrim County, that occurred at the EMS server. That wasn't a function of the precinct tabulators. That was when it got imported into the EMS server. So if we're going to have any confidence in these results that are now being certified all across the state, that is a big red flag in my perspective, is that these precinct level results are only available via these EMS servers that have been shown to flip votes in the past.
Steve has a question about what we can do with new election laws, Prop 2 specifically going into effect. Is there anything that we could be looking forward ahead on that?
Yeah, sign up to be a member of the Democratic Party because they're the only ones that are going to win elections going forward.
Oh,
sorry,
my goodness.
Not exactly Philippians 4:8 mode, but that is it. I mean, that's that's what they did with Prop 2. I mean, it's like they cheated. Now they're going to sit there, and all the folks who've been saying we got to follow the law. Well, now they decided, okay, yeah, we'll do them one better. We'll actually be the law. And now Prop 2 being the law, effective on Christmas Eve, which is the same day that Prop 3, the baby killing amendment to our Constitution, goes into effect right on Christmas Eve. How's that for a nice little highlight of what's evil?
It really is.
I mean, we got to counter it with ballot proposals of ourselves, but by ourselves. But now the issue is they've stacked the deck with Prop 2, so that we're going to need to get it past the Secretary of State. We saw how successful that was on validating our signatures for the Secure My Vote proposal, right? How long did that take to get into motion?
Hang on, Pat. Hang on. Got to get back on air. Stand by, folks. Be right back. Welcome back in. Pre-Thanksgiving edition, West Michigan Live. Pat Colbeck joins us, former Michigan State Senator, talking about some of the issues. What can people do now as they continue to look at some of the issues from 2022? He's laid some of this out. I'm imagining you put some of this up at letsfixstuff.org and some of the evidence and things, the issues. Over 200 incidents.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to post it yet.
So folks want to take a look at this, some of the things they can. It'll get up there at some point, folks. You can go take a look. But what can people do, in the immediate and then to the future, to make sure that this gets taken a look at?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of people that volunteer and say, hey, I just want to help. Let me know how I can help. I'm a one-man band here, unfortunately. I've just been trying to coordinate all the different groups that are across the state that are specializing in different areas of addressing election fraud. So I recommend you contact the folks out at Pure Integrity for Michigan Elections, and also the Election Integrity Network, also Election Integrity Force. You've got some great folks there like Joanne Bockley and Tim Vetter. Also the group Michigan Citizens for Election Integrity, MC4EI. They're the folks that have been reviewing all the videos of all the drop boxes and, back in support of the 2000 Mules movie. So these are a lot of groups that could really use volunteer support because they're the ones doing a lot of the plugging and chugging on election fraud investigations. I'm more of a systems integrator or aggregator across all these different groups and trying to make sure that they're connected to national resources that I've got connections with. So best way to help is help these groups because they're the ones that are the boots on the ground. I mean, near term, one of the priorities that I would submit for the 2022 election, as it was with 2020. And we got a little slow out of the gates in 2020, but for the 2022 election, it would be nice if everybody initiated canvassing activities that would go off and validate the data inside the poll book. So I believe that 90% of the fraud that occurs in these elections nowadays is through the mail-in ballot voting. And so when somebody shows up to vote in person and they're told, sorry, you already voted via absentee, that indicates that there's some chicanery going on with the qualified voter file and giving ballots to people that shouldn't have ballots. And the way you go off and verify that is by canvassing and knocking on people's doors and say, hey, we got a list of voters here from the 2022 election. You're identified as a voter. Number one, did you vote? Number two, did you vote absentee or by mail? And
we got to break top of the hour news here. You can be hanging with us if you want the after show. But folks, where can people catch up with you? Let'sfixstuff.com and where else, Pat?
Yeah, let'sfixstuff.org is where I'll be publishing. I haven't had a lot of time to put a lot of posts. I got a lot in process, but I will over the next week or two get some stuff out there. Let'sfixstuff.org is the best site. But also, I encourage you to please, if you want to get educated on the subject election fraud, read my book, The 2020 Coup. And if you go to the 2020coup.com, you can find out places to go off and get copies. Share it with your friends and family, because until we understand how they're stealing these elections, then we're never going to be able to fix it. I also put in that book what we can do about it as well.
Gotta run. Hang on, folks. We got an after show jam-packed coming up in just moments. You can join us Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, YouTube, all the usual suspects, the iHeartRadio app as well. Listen live at justinbarclay.com. Back Friday, 9 to noon for the Glenn Beck program nationwide. Happy Thanksgiving, folks.
I'm sorry, it probably wasn't a happy Thanksgiving message from me today, Justin.
All right, sorry about that, Pat.
No,
do you want?
I'm sorry about the lack of a happy Thanksgiving message from me today.
Yeah, you're a Scrooge. Humble. Do you
but
want?
Literally, they've rigged the game now. So I mean, one of our solutions is ballot petitions, right? They control the hoops and hurdles you have to jump through for the ballot petitions now. And if you control the election, how are we supposed to get a decent vote? We saw what happened to Prop 2 and Prop 3.
Can you want to hang, or do you?
Yeah, no, I can hang. I still got a lot of venting, I guess.
All right, I'm not gonna have a lot of time, so I'll hang, keep you over another 5 minutes or so, and then I gotta.
Sure. Just let me help answer any questions people have.
All right. Ask a question. You have something you want to ask, and maybe a question for Pat. Go ahead and get it in the chat, and we'll kick things off here. Welcome in. It is the after show, the show after the show. That's why they call it the after show. See how we did there? Very, very creative. Our pre-Thanksgiving after show. We got a big one coming up at Black Friday deals, by the way, all of them, including the books with the Tuttle twins, all the stuff with Patriots, My Patriots Supply, preparewithjustin.com, all of that available on the Black Friday page. Go check out the deals, including things on my website with brand new items there at justinbarclay.com. That's justinbarclay.com for the Black Friday week special. Pat Colbeck's got his book, 2020 Coup. Any Black Friday specials there, Pat? I know you're probably Black Friday, but I tell you what, it's really special. You buy that book, maybe he'll sign it and send it to you.
Well, if you go to mystore.com, you can get it from Mike Lindell's store, and use the promo code MEDDLINGKIDS to get 33% off. So,
yeah. Can I? Marla wants to know if I can help you and sell my book on your website. Well, I don't know how we would do that because everything that gets sold on my website is fulfilled in North Carolina, or I send it like if it's a book. So Pat would have to sell it anyway. I could put a link to my website over to Patrick's website, but I don't have a lot of elves. I'm kind of like Patrick. I'm a one man.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of tough there. Is there
this wasn't plan. This isn't a business for me. I mean, this is in lieu of a business. This
you ought to see that yacht he's got parked out front there in the you're going down Florida later on.
I would love to. The way we get to go on vacations, that we sign up for credit cards that give you free miles. So no, this is my goal is to get out of this election fraud stuff as fast as possible. I have a other career that I'm trying to get into, and for the last 2 years, it's been very difficult to shift gears into that mode. But so I've been relying on other organizations that are interested in this to that are putting together the infrastructure necessary to do this and carry it forward. I haven't invested a lot into developing an infrastructure minus the website Let's Fix stuff to try to get the truth out, not just about election fraud, but about, vaccinations and COVID and all that craziness, and just let people know what's really going on in a policy area.
Pat Colbeck, questions people might have for you in the chat. We'll take those too.
Okay.
But you were just talking about what people can do. One of the folks was asking about the canvassing. How do they get involved in things like that?
Well, I last time the Election Integrity Force took the lead on trying to coalesce that all across the state. There's a lot of regional groups like Ottawa Impact that were very, very good and successful at conducting these canvassing activities. I haven't talked with them in the wake of the 2022 election to see if they were going to initiate that again. But I would start with Election Integrity Force and let them know that you're interested in helping out in canvassing, so we can kick that off while everybody's voting methods are still fresh in their memory.
Okay, so people want to know, if we can't get anything, though, what do you do moving forward? The new rules. Is there anything we can do, or do you just pack up the van and head on down to Florida? What do you do?
Well, for me, it's all about the investigation. And frankly, if our legislators won't do the investigation, then we as citizens have to. And that's one of the 5 pathways that I've identified in previous posts and on social media and stuff. Citizens can do their own investigation. That's essentially what I'm doing right now, except that it's a lot more difficult for us because we have to do it via the FOIA process. We can't get access to all the information that's out there. It often gets denied, but we can put together enough that highlights the problems we're seeing in this election. And one of the things that we can do as citizen investigators is to help out with these canvassing activities, because literally in the 2020 election, we found out that there were anomaly rates in the data in our voter files of anywhere between 4 and 44%. I mean, that translates to over 900,000 votes in the 2020 election that was reportedly decided on the basis of 154,188 votes.
Wow. We got to have a little hope here too. People are wondering, because obviously
my hope's not in this earth. I can tell you that right now. It's nothing to do with this earth. There's a lot of in this world you will have trouble.
Maybe that's just a message you're supposed to hear today.
Yeah, but be of good cheer. I mean, you got to keep focused on not what's going on in this world, but what our ultimate destination is, and bring as many people into an appreciation for a relationship with Jesus Christ as you possibly can, because that is the only hope.
And there you have it, folks. Well, Pat, that's a good Thanksgiving message. I'll take that. How about it?
I hope a lot of people will take that up, and because really that's what it's all about. And I one thing is, you go through these trials and tribulations, you learn how true God's word really is. His promises are true. And the way to find out about that is to actually get immersed in his word. So over the holidays, a lot of people are going to be, thinking about binging on Netflix and stuff like that, I just recommend you just binge on the Bible. And if you haven't read it all the way through once, please do so. I every single morning, before I take a shower, as you can tell right now, I get into the Bible and start the day out that way, because I want to hear what God has to say before I hear what the world has to say.
Amen. I talk about that, not to plug books here, but I actually talk about that in my book, Good News, Hope, and Encouragement for Trying Times. And if you're feeling a little let down right now, folks, if you're feeling a little, hopeless and helpless, that's a great book to pick up. And I think
Wait a minute, I got a comment on Sherry Tate said, Patrick for MI Senate. Sherry, what have I done to offend you? I got out of there.
Maybe she said she wants you to run against Debbie Stabenow or
that would be U.S. Senate. I mean, okay.
They're throwing all kinds of stuff around. The other day, somebody wanted me to run for something. I said, I'm running from things.
Well, I mean, no, we do need good people like you, Justin, running. We really do.
But people are. This is my call. This is it right here. This is where I'm supposed to be. At least if now, if God wants me, He's going to have to make it pretty crystal clear. Like, I don't know, one of those airplanes with a banner or something like that. But,
I told you, and I think you've read my book, Wrestling Gators, and I talk about how I did not want to go into politics. I'm an engineer. What the heck does an engineer want to go to the halls of? I mean, and when I go up to the Capitol, whenever I've been up there, it is the most oppressive place that I've ever been in my life. It literally sucks the soul right out of you. It feels like that at times. Yeah. But I felt called to go in, and that was me asking God what He wanted me to do, not telling Him what I wanted to do.
Amen.
And I actually gave Him a deadline on February 21st in 2010. I said, I need to know whether or not. Yeah. And I need to know if you want me to run or not. My devotion for that morning was from 1 Corinthians 9:24. It said, for many run the race, but only one gets the prize. Run in such a way as to get the prize. And
wow.
So I go, great. And I know there's a different context on it, but I knew in my heart and my spirit that that's exactly what He's asking me to do. And that's exactly what we did. And despite having no money or political experience, we won. And I ran the Michigan Senate for a Michigan Senate seat first, which is a no. You're supposed to go through your progression, right? And I went right for the Senate because we already had a good candidate running in the House. And we won. First time in 30 years.
Amen. Well, isn't that incredible, folks? And we all have our calling. That may not be running for something. It may be doing some of the other things involved. Speaking up at school boards, you're going and you're canvassing, or maybe there's something that you can do to get involved on the grassroots level, or just to make sure that you are being, you're doing what you're called to do, being a parent, just being there for somebody in your community, for your church, whatever it is. I mean, who knows?
You can lead without a title. And you can lead people to Christ without a title.
Amen. Yeah, He didn't make any junk, that's for sure. Pat, thank you, my friend.
That's actually the poster I had up in my bedroom when I was growing up. It said, "I'm okay. God doesn't make junk."
Wow, isn't that something?
Yeah. All right. Well,
God bless you, my friend.
Appreciate it.
A lot to be thankful for, even though in some of these dark times. We'll walk through some of that coming up. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all the supporters that are out there that have been, working hard to get all this information we're asking everybody to go off and get. It's really been a blessing, and it just warms your heart. So thank you, everybody. Don't give up the ship. And unlike me sometimes on it, always remember Philippians 4:8, focus on what's noble, true, excellent, and praiseworthy. Okay. Not going to lie.
God bless, my friend. There you go. Somebody mentioned Gideon. Pat had a Gideon moment. He said, well, I need to, here's my deadline. I love that. It's not necessarily as specific as Gideon, but he asked for a deadline. Hey, how about a Rona report, folks? You want one of those? Rona report from the high priest of health himself. He's back at it. His last press conference at the White House yesterday. Oh, you wouldn't believe some of the exciting things that transpire. Yep, I've got it. Fauci! St. Anthony of Wuhan! Mr. Booster! patron saint of pandemics out telling you what to do. It's almost like he never, it's like he never was going to retire. It's one of those things, right? He just never wanted to go, apparently. Here he is telling people before Thanksgiving, before you go out to your Thanksgiving dinner, here's some things you might ought to do. I can't believe anybody still listen to this guy?
First of all, everybody should be vaccinated and boosted with flu and with COVID. Whether or not you wear a mask, or another thing we shouldn't underestimate is testing. So when we're gathering at a family gathering for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or for any other holiday as we get into the winter, it makes sense that you might want to get a test that day before you come into a place in which you might be infected and spread it, or other people who might be there, in order to protect. So masking is important, but you can count masking, vaccine, boosting, testing. All of that is part of the spectrum of protecting yourself and your family.
Yeah. It's 2022. If you're still listening to this guy, you're in a cult. You're not following the science, you're following the religion. If you're still listening to this fraud, it's all, look, this guy wants at this point to continue to try to sort of hang on to some shred of power or whatever it is. He's saying the real danger, continuing to divide. Can you imagine there are people that are listening to this moron? I don't like a name calling, but let's just, this is a situation I think you have to. This moron is saying that you're dangerous if you're not jabbed. Come on. Really? That's what it is. Now, how about the damage? The damage done by old Tony Fauci through the years. How about what will his legacy be? That's one of the things they talked about yesterday. He said, I'm going to let people decide my legacy. Well, yeah, good, because they're going to decide. What do you think that legacy is for St. Anthony of Wuhan?
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
A dispute over a mask led to a woman being tased by a cop at a middle school game.
It was a tense first day of class. Police were called on campus. The entire school went into lockdown, and all because 2 students refused to wear a mask.
Wow.
Suggesting we declare a pandemic amnesty. Quote, we need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID.
We changed our whole culture and of America. That'll be a generation or more to overcome.
Record low reading and math scores reveal the impact of school shutdowns.
New test results show a significant drop in test scores and learning for elementary school age children in the United States. The decline in reading and math for 9-year-olds were the largest in several decades.
You're really criticizing science because I represent science.
Well, the vaccines provide strong protection for the vaccinated. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: our patience is wearing thin.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection.
People who have already had the virus be recommended to get the vaccine as well.
The answer.
Don't forget that the I am the science. Don't let that be lost on you. I am the science.
The answer is yes.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Well, no. If she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as anybody can be, because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
Reactions would be most common from these vaccines?
Well, generally, the most common reaction is what you see with most any other vaccine. A sore arm, a little bit aches. You might feel a little bit fatigued and down. A small percentage of the people might get a fever.
It has turned out to be more of a serious issue than previously thought. We're talking about myocarditis happening to some young people after getting the coronavirus vaccine.
What can I say? And even yesterday, they wanted to get answers. There was a reporter that asked a question, very simple question. Diana Glebova, she is a reporter with the Daily Caller, wanted a question about the origins of COVID-19, and it just it completely devolved into this whole back and forth. Cringe Jean-Pierre. Cringe. That's her new nickname, I think. I like that. Others have called her Cabbage Patch Kid or girl or whatever. Listen, I like to cringe Jean-Pierre. Anyway, she got in a mix up here. Listen to what happened here when the question was asked.
We gotta move on. Go ahead, Alex. Go ahead. Alex, don't do the You're being disrespectful. Hold on. No, wait, I did not call on you, Stephen. Go ahead, Alex. You're next. We gotta move on. Go ahead, Alex. Go ahead. Alex.
It's like a whole thing. She refused to. Yeah, and the question was about whether or not, or where the origins of the COVID-19 were. Was it the bat sandwich? Was there something else? Was there something else going on there? And it devolved into this whole thing. Another reporter had to jump in and ask about it. No, she just wants to shut people up, turn people down. No, we don't need it. They're just telling us the high priest of health. They told us he's the guy that he has all the answers about everything. Just ask him, he'll tell you. But there's certain questions. There's certain questions that you cannot ask the high priest of health. How dare you? It's heresy. It's heresy if you do. Well, what about this? What about this particular incident from the COVID? Biden's COVID czar, Ashish Jha, Ashish Unat. He actually said God gave you two arms for this reason.
But it's going to take all of us to make that happen. So please, don't wait. Get your COVID shot. Get your flu shot. That's why God gave you two arms. You one in each arm if you want. Go to vaccines.gov. And let's do everything we all can to protect the American people.
You know, if I were from you to tell me what God intended, he also gave me an immune system, a free will to make those decisions, and an intellect to weigh the logic of the nonsense that's being presented. You know what else he gave me? 2 middle fingers. Since we're talking anatomy, I won't discuss what to do with those anatomy pieces, but you know, since we're discussing all of it, and he gave me 2 middle fingers, and you know, I have some thoughts, I have some suggestions, but you know what? I just leave that because I'm trying to be a kinder, gentler, Justin. It is Thanksgiving after all, folks.
This is about the guy in charge of COVID response is lying about COVID. Why?
Tucker went in nuclear last night.
He lied about herd immunity. Then he lied about masks. And then he repeatedly lied about vaccines. You can't lie if you're a public health official, but he kept doing it. Today, Tony Fauci, who's now 81, held his last press conference, and appropriately enough, he decided to tell one final lie about masks. Watch.
So what do you say about the word mask now being a pejorative in some communities?
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know sometimes when you walk in and you have a mask and nobody has a mask, you kind of feel guilty. You shouldn't feel guilty. You look terrific.
That's the question from the press corps. What do you say about the word mask becoming a pejorative? What? That's media coverage? That's embarrassing. It's weird, too. People who love masks, really? They don't work very well. Everyone knows that. The science shows that. But for some reason, Tony Fauci is still pretending it makes sense to wear a mask. He also pretended once again that you will die unless you get the Rona vaccine. For real, watch.
The real danger is in the people who have not been vaccinated. So that's where we expect, if we're going to see a problem this winter, it's going to be among those people.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, is it? This is insane. This is not science. In fact, all the science shows just the opposite. It's more risky for most people to get the vaccine than to get COVID at this point. It's not speculation. The data from a bunch of different countries, UK and Israel included, prove that. But Fauci somehow doesn't know that. Remember, this is the guy who's funding bat coronavirus experiments in Wuhan, which at this point seem pretty likely to be the cause of the entire pandemic. So a reporter for the Daily Caller decided to ask Fauci about that, because how could you not ask? Were you involved? in creating this virus? Or where did it come from? Shouldn't we know? Millions have died. We wrecked our economy. But you're not allowed to ask that question, because then Joe Biden's glass ceiling shattering publicist rushed in and shut the whole thing down. Watch this.
Dr. Fauci, only 13% of...
Hold on one second. We have a process here. I'm not calling out on people who yell. And you're being disrespectful to your colleagues, and you're being disrespectful to our guests. I will not call on you if you yell. And also, you're taking time off the clock, because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes.
His clock is ticking, that's for sure.
She has a valid question. She's asking about the origin of COVID.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer that question.
I hear your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is the disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. Simon, I'm done. I'm done with you right now.
I don't know. Does it appear to you that this administration, not apparently full and transparent, it's a little bit of the fascism, it appears, and then I don't know about you, but do they have a problem with foreigners? Seems like they may be a little xenophobic. She shouted him down. I like that part. The glass ceiling shattering cringe Jean-Pierre stepping in. There's more. I'll put that in on the stack. You can check it out, by the way, over at justinbarclay.com. I post things in the stack that you may have heard or just seen me discuss on this program, the after show, and the full radio show. Speaking of glass ceilings, another one's been shattered. Kyra Harris Bolden appointed the first black woman on the Michigan Supreme Court. Wish I could have got to this on the radio program today. It's historic. For so many different reasons. One of them is that she's merely 34 years old and only has 4 years of experience practicing law at all. But she will be on the Michigan Supreme Court. She also ran for the Michigan Supreme Court. Voters told her no. Whitmer said, I don't care what you think. I'm going to go ahead and appoint her anyway. Judge McCormick stepping down. Whitmer's choice, this particular individual. It doesn't matter. Well, the reason is this is on display, full display, what Democrats are all about. They're about identity politics. They're about, well, let's just have a talking head or a figurehead. This person won't be making any of the actual decisions, or even if they do, they know exactly which way to go, the way the wind blows. Now, again, the Michigan Supreme Court is supposed to be a nonpartisan position. It's turned into a very highly partisan position. But that's, it's just par for the course nowadays. Sudden death on a massive scale. Top cardiologists have a warning. I'm just reading a couple of Rona Report headlines for you. The Biden administration has launched a massive, critical 6-week push aimed at stepping up Americans' boosters and the rates of the booster heading into the holiday season. You saw some of that push that happened yesterday. Boy, oh boy, are they back and at it again. Biden putting the pause on federal student loan payments again after being told that they couldn't do what he promised they would do going into the midterms. HP computer maker laying off 6,000 workers over the next 3 years. 6,000 workers. No, nothing to see here. No, there's no weird, strange thing happening with the economy. There's certainly no depression. I wouldn't use that word at all. But it's not even a recession. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, folks. I'll leave you with this, though. A record-setting 67-pound goldfish This has got to be one of the craziest stories I've ever seen, and the picture is just absolutely. It doesn't get any better than this. 67-pound goldfish caught by a man in a French lake. He's calling the goldfish Carrot. I don't know if this thing's going to be on his Thanksgiving table or what do you got to toss that back? You don't eat that thing, do you? You can't eat can you eat a goldfish? I guess you can eat anything. People are eating the lab-made meat now. So certainly you could probably eat this goldfish if you wanted to. Possibly one of the biggest goldfish in the world, safely released after the photo. So that they just know that if you're in France, in that lake, that thing is out there swimming around, floating around out there in the lake over in France. Something is a little fishy. Un peu. That's French for a little fishy. Speaking of which, we're taking the day off tomorrow to eat some turkey, not fish, not lab-made meat either. The real stuff. Giving thanks. I'm thankful for you. Grateful that we're able to come together in these trying times. The book, still a chance to grab that. I think free shipping at justinbarclay.com/store. You can get all of the details of the Black Friday sales and brand new products there in the store. And keep an eye out because over the next couple of days, new products will be showing up in the Black Friday deals and specials, all of them underway. Yep. JustinBarclay.com. It's our Black Friday week here, folks. Going back program back on Friday, 3 full hours. Wishing you the best, folks. Make it a great day and a great Thanksgiving holiday. God bless. Want to thank the folks at Mentality. They're helping men every single day get results in their lives. And you're struggling. Maybe you just like to feel like you did 5-10 years ago. You get a little low energy, muscle loss, fatigue, weight gain. All of those symptoms could be from low T. They want to help you look and feel your very best because they know that you matter. You're important. You got to show up as the best husband, father, and the best in your call on a daily basis. The way you're created to be. Men, we need you in this fight. Go get tested and then get treated. They've got FDA-approved testosterone treatment board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. The folks at Mentality are ready to help. A local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. Mentality. Go to lowtusa.com. That's low, the letter T, USA.com. Go to lowtusa.com today.